Hey fam, we are live, and as soon as we live, I realized I need mint condition. That is my tablet because I name everything around me. That's mint
Mint
condition.
condition.
I mean, mint condition.
I like that.
I think it is. You can check the room. You can check the room there. But hello, Facebook, YouTube family, nonprofit founders. It's so good to see you on this beautiful Saturday morning. I hope you guys have had a peaceful, productive day. As you can see, we have someone very special here. I'm going to let her introduce herself. Some of you may already know her because we have a lot of family and friends and things like that on here. So some of you may already know who she is, but she's going to be introducing herself momentarily as people come in here, guys. As you come in, just say hello, where you are calling from. If you already have a team, or if you're building a team and wanting to have a team one day, if you already have a payroll or have been using payroll, and what type of services are you using? What's working for you? That's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to set up payroll and also how to team management. Those things kind of go hand in hand because, of course, part of your team is payroll, right, Kandis?
Most definitely.
Most definitely. Yes. So as people are coming in and telling us where they're from and telling us if they've already have payroll or if it's something that they're going to be setting up in the future, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves to us? Well, first off, I'll give a little introduction and just say, guys, that this is my sister first and foremost. Yeah. So as I say, hey fam to you guys, this is my fam, my blood, my baby sister, who is also, of course, an entrepreneur as well because it runs in the family, right? And so she's going to introduce herself to you guys in a business sense and what she does in payroll, but she's also my wonderful baby sister. Go ahead.
Okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Kandis with All Pay Services. And I have been in human resources and business management for about 15 years. I've worked several jobs such as payroll, human resources, banking. I have experience in every aspect of customer service. So business management. The last company that I worked for, which was a large payroll company, I worked my way up, the ladder a little bit. And then that's when I decided that it was time for me to dig and dive into my higher purpose and my calling, which is helping others, with the knowledge that I've received. So that's where All Pay Services comes into place. And we go from there. I'm also a mother of 2 beautiful kids and a very loving and caring person, family person. Anyone who knows me knows that. So
absolutely. Yes. And I know we didn't talk about this prior to, but do you mind giving a little bit of a feedback on your transition? How was your transition from working for that big time company to now, being an entrepreneur? Is that a tough transition?
The best advice I could give is taking it day at a time. Really being present with what's going on and really being in tune with yourself and what's going on with yourself and what you have to offer. Self-love and self-care is so important because if you're not taking care of yourself and really in tune with your thought process and how you can benefit in your calling, it will be very challenging. So I would say the most important thing that I start doing is just really, like I said, taking it day by day and step by step and really making small goals to get to the place where I want it to be.
That's so important, Kandis. It really is, because a lot of times when you look at it, a lot of times we look at a lot of companies who have been around for a long time. And so they have a whole huge momentum build. They already have a huge team, Walmart. And you just think like, where do I even start? I know that this is a vision that I have. I know that I'm supposed to have my own team. I know I'm supposed to start my own nonprofit or my own business. But, such things like payroll and accounting and sometimes even the legal setup and banking and all of these little things kind of can deter us, because I might just want to bake cakes or I might just want to, do hair, or I might want to just do massage or do therapy or something like that. And I don't know anything about marketing or banking or payroll or things like that. And that's where I really feel like that's where I'm called to impact, is really help that small entrepreneur to really start to take those baby steps and slowly build. So that's so important. That's huge. Staying in the step you're in, focusing on what steps can I take today. I think that was in our email. If you guys aren't on our list, you can join it on clarkandpark.org. But I think that was on our email today, was to what steps can I take today? Sometimes people will say 3 top steps. I even say just 1.
Yes.
It'll move you closer to your vision.
Yes.
That's it. So that is a nugget right there. I need to put that on the board. Hello. Hey, Marika. Thanks for joining us. Another team member as well. That's what we're going to be talking about. And hello, Fallen Skies from Georgia. I hope all is well over there in Georgia. I know it's a
I can't see who's joining or anything like that.
Okay, can you see that now?
No, yes, I see
it. Okay,
it.
I just put it on the screen now. Yep, I just put it on the screen now. So there you go. So I'll put any comments or questions right on there like that as well, guys. Okay. This is also not only is it, it's kids going to be coming on to talk about payroll as well. This is actually her first time live as well, guys. Give it up. Woo! It's not bad at all, though.
It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. No.
It's live. It's just like talking to someone live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the great thing about connecting with someone. And the great thing about this time and age is, even though we don't all, of course, depending upon what level of business you all are doing and things like that, we all don't come on live right here. But at the same point in time, we are always live. We're coming on. How many times do we FaceTime, Kandis? Yeah, or, you know what I'm saying? Or go on Facebook Messenger or Zoom and things like that. So that's another little nugget tip I'll give before we dig into the real subject here is, guys, anytime you're on video, use that as a time. Yeah. Hey, Natalie, we're part of her team as well, by the way. Yeah. Part of her team, guys. That's the great thing about working with nonprofits is you get to intertwine with all types of teams, and you get to do your giftings, add just your gifting, because that's the whole thing about team management. But we'll talk about that. That's a bonus that we're talking about at the end of this. But to make sure that you're focused on your lane, focused on your gifting, and giving each team that you're connected to the best of your gifts. So, but we'll talk about that afterwards. Right now, we're going to dig into some payroll questions, because if you're going to have a team, you're going to be dealing with payroll, right?
Or more than likely, they want to get paid. They want to get paid.
They want to get paid. Yes. You want to create some win-win situations.
Correct.
And we'll talk about that portion first. Guys, I'm a big component of trying your best to create the best type of environment for employees or contractors or anybody working from you. My go-to statement is win-wins. Yeah. So how are they benefiting? I like to even look at the people that are tied to me, and even if they say they're like, hey, I want to charge this amount for something. As a leader, guys, as you're leading your team, you have to realize that you're always grabbing arms and making sure you're elevating and pulling people up. So if someone ever gives you a lower value, and especially as minorities, as sisters by blood, as sisters, you know what I mean? Yeah. They're not giving what their value is. I'm the type that will say, you know what? You need to be getting paid this much for that, because this is the level that we value at. So when you start to treat your team like that, it's easy to build a team and to make sure you're creating those win-wins. At the same time, you're a small company. So you have to try to make it like we have a lot of commission programs set up for a lot of our employees as well, or our contractors as well, to where they're bringing in. So that's a win-win for us. So we don't have to be concerned too much about, ever getting to the point. A lot of times as new entrepreneurs, you're concerned about getting to the point where your overhead goes above what you're bringing in. That's scary, right?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have a couple of people who chimed in here before we dive into the first question here. And if you guys have questions about payroll, leave them in there as well as we're coming in. Leave them on in there, and we'll come back to them later. He's from Colorado.
Any payroll questions?
What'd you say?
I said, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I know I always have a lot of questions about payroll.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
You do. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask all my questions for y'all.
Yeah.
Because we are newly growing. We are a company that is a small company that is constantly growing, constantly adding to our team. And I constantly have questions about payroll. So, hey, Tamara, peace from Colorado, sending light and love to all Tamara. Of you beings. Thank you.
Light and love to you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Queen. Hey, Camilla. Oh, my goodness. Camilla, shout out on this Saturday Live, Rockin' Nonprofit. She was just on the news in Philadelphia.
Hell,
Over 3,000
congratulations,
views
Camilla.
right now. Absolutely. She's doing a healing ball, a survivor's ball for people who have had any type of domestic or any type of
I love
interrelationship
that.
abuse. Absolutely. She's doing
That's
that.
beautiful.
The name of her organization is It's My Movement. All right, I did it. I was like,
Yep.
woo, 400 guys. When I'm trying to come up with that name, sometimes it's hard, but I always know your personal name. But shout out, Camilla. I'm so proud of you and your organization. When you guys win, we win. That's
Yeah.
what I love about what I do. Absolutely. Hello. Hello, mom.
Mommy.
Mommy. That's our mother, guys. Hello, hello. All right. Let's dive right on in. Let's dive right on in about payroll. So, first and foremost, I would say number one question, what would you say are the top questions that you get when it comes to payroll? What are some of the top concerns? What slows people down?
I would say I think the number one primary concern is do I have the proper documentation set up to even get payroll started? You know, do I have the proper taxes set up to get payroll started? When do I get payroll started? You know, who should be on payroll?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do I have to do once payroll is set up? You know, what is my responsibility in it all, and where do I go from there? And a lot of times people may not be sure on, you know, when do I pay employees or the frequency? Can I pay employees monthly or annually or biweekly, or how does that work? You know,
And
so
those
those
are
are
all
probably
great
some of the
questions.
primary questions that I
Those
get.
are all great questions, questions that I've had as well. Like one of the main things I got concerned with when I was first starting off payroll was what if something changes? What if I've started up payroll, especially now because things have been changing literally by the month in the
Yeah.
world that we live in? You know, am I locked in? That's my number one question when it comes to anything. How adjustable is this?
And
You
that could be
know,
a scary thought, right? Now I'm set in
again.
stone. Now I'm locked in with payroll. But the beautiful thing about that is nothing is set in stone. Everything changes. Your team may grow. Your
Mm-hmm.
team may, you know, expand. You may need to pay a person in another state. You know, you may expand, you know, with your business with Clark and Clark. You know, I'm a resident of Michigan. You live out of Indiana. So you may have an employee in several different states that you need to pay. So nothing is set in stone with payroll just because, you know, businesses change and grow and flourish and do different things all the time. So there's always changes that can be
There's
made.
always changes. So if you set up payroll this month, that scares a lot of people because they don't know. They're like, okay, I have to sustain this. Now, the first thing that I will answer that we were going to ask here is a lot of people ask, when am I supposed to be setting up payroll? When should I set that up? And one thing that I say is make sure that you have a steady hand on what you know is coming in on a regular basis. And in entrepreneurship and in
Yes,
business, that can be hard because
it
sometimes
can
it's
be.
up and down. So one thing that I was telling Candice is I always go by the low. So I go by the lower amount, and I typically like my payroll to be 20 to 30% of the low amount that I'm bringing in. You know what I mean? And this is what I do when we bring in more. I do bonuses because
Yes,
I'm all for we win together. So if
yes,
we're winning and we're growing, okay, now I can pump more into that. But you never have to worry about bringing in. That was one of my top concerns when I was transitioning and growing my team was, okay, you know, you
mhm,
get to the point where you're doing good for your family and you're doing good for that, but to start to take on part-time roles and full-time roles of another family can be kind of scary. You know what
yes,
I mean?
yes.
And so, but at the same point in time, in order for you to grow, it's all about teams. You can
It's
only
all
get
about
to a
team.
certain level as a solopreneur and as someone who's trying to work by themselves.
No, you
It's all
cannot.
about coming together.
And that's why why it's so important to tap into to yourself, because I think eventually that just naturally comes. That, you know, a team naturally, you know, based on, you know, who you are, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it naturally flows. The right team will basically come to you. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And your energies coincide with one another. You know, because you
Absolutely.
want people happy. You want people to be able to communicate. I know working for a large corporation, I never felt like I was heard. You know what I'm saying? So you always want to feel like your team here, you hear your team. You know what I'm saying? If I'm paying someone, I want them to be happy. I want them to be well taken care of. I want their families to be happy, because that flourishes so much off onto your business and the success of your business. Your
You
team
want to feel
is your
connected.
backbone, you know?
Yes.
So,
You want to feel connected. You want to feel connected.
Definitely.
You want to feel like they're creating win-wins for you. You want to feel like they're all in, you're all in. It's some of the same dynamics that comes with relationships.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You want to have that support. You want to have relationships. The great thing about a life in general that I absolutely love is when you learn a lesson in one area of life, a lot of times that can transition to other areas of life as well.
Yeah.
So if you've succeeded in one area, whatever that area may be, if that's personal relationships or something like that, you can also use some of those same tools to succeed in business relationships. Like, okay, what did I do to adjust that situation? That's me over here. What did I do to adjust that? How did I change that and do something better? Now, how can I do the same thing in my business? How can I create that same win?
They definitely go. They definitely go hand in hand. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. Tell us some examples of different types of payroll so that everybody doesn't just see like, okay, payroll is got to be 20 hours, got to be 40 hours at this amount. What's some different types of payroll clients you've dealt with?
I've dealt with several different types of clients. So you have it just depending on your situation and your payroll situation. Everyone is different. I have a client who's annual who pays pays themselves one time a year.
Wow.
And their accountant will say, you need to pay yourself this amount. We'll pay them that amount, deduct the taxes that need to be deducted, send it to the proper payroll agencies. We'll file their annual return, and they're all set. I also have another client who pays their employees biweekly, a set schedule, a set salary, and that's it. I have someone who has one employee that they want to pay monthly and one employee they want to pay weekly. So they may have where they're paying one employee monthly, one employee weekly. I have a client who doesn't know when they can pay their employees because they go based off of their monthly sales. So they may double down 1 month and not be able to pay their employees 1 month. And that's the beauty about All Pay Services. We're not looking to, put you in the wrong package or set you up to fail. So we go based on what your needs are and what's right for you as a client.
And there's so many different varieties of that was all awesome. One thing I want to point out with us being here in the end of the year, a lot of our businesses receiving some of the COVID-19 funding and payroll being a huge part. And guys, we'll have all of Kandis's information as well linked in here for you guys to reach out in the description. But at the end of the year, payroll is a big part of whether or not some of the funding that was given out with COVID-19 is going to be forgiven or not, whether or not it went into payroll. So it's not too late.
No, it's not. Any wages that you get in before December the 31st are considered 2020 wages. So it's not too late to get your payroll set up. The process is not extended. It's not hard. It's not scary. It's very simple, very streamlined. And it's not too late. Most definitely not.
And it was so good to hear all of those different examples of payroll, guys. One of the ones I love so much, I want to point that out, that there's a client that you have that doesn't know what they're going to bring in, so they run payroll like that. We have a couple of people that are tied to our organization that are on commission type basis. That's an easy way to transition someone into your company, especially if you already have a heartbeat to your company and you know what you're bringing in, so you know what they can bring in as well. And if it's somebody who's gifted in that area, that's a great way to bring someone in and make sure that all you're doing, we're winning, because every 20% they make, the company made 80% as well. At the same time, 20% is the highest. So I normally do 20 to 30. Those are the highest percentages of commission. Those are huge commissions to any type of sales program or things like that. It's typically more so under 10%.
Yeah.
And so, that again, those are ways that you're creating that win-win. So that's what you want to focus on. Want to say hello to some people. Hello, Coach Austin.
Hey, Coach Austin.
Hello, King.
Hello.
He said, yes, so needed. Needs help with for some of your new clients who are setting up payroll. Yeah, that's a tough part. not just we're talking now about all of the business external portion, setting it up, all of those things. But I think Coach Austin does a lot of stuff with mindset as well. And I think it's also sometimes a mindset when it comes
Yes.
to new entrepreneurs, new businesses. They're like, I even saw it sometimes in my team. I'll be looking at someone else that I'm possibly looking at and hiring on, and sometimes they're like, okay, what type of role are they going to be doing, or what type of, you know what I mean? Because is it going to be pulling from something that I necessarily had coming in? But a lot of times you don't realize the more people that you have adding on, depending on what gifts they're bringing to the table, the more you're all bringing in. So as
Yes.
they take on more roles,
Yes.
you're able to grow more in your role, and you all kind of feed in together. And
To,
so it's
to one
definitely
another.
be a mindset thing. Like, I don't know. No, I just need to do that. I don't need
Yes.
to hire. And I will tell you this, guys, one of the things that I go by is outsource, outsource, outsource. Anything that can be trained, train. Delegate, delete, delay. It's delegate, delete, delay. It's one more. Do you know that one, sis?
Delegate, delete.
I think it's just delegate, delete, delay. Maybe it's not a fourth, but delegate, delete, delay, guys. So if you can delegate something, it's great to be able to hire it out or delegate it so that you can do those things that can't be delegated. Because
Yeah.
there are certain things that just can't be delegated.
And then I was going to say, Tracy, the beauty about it is that you can hire all different types of payroll, people. Some people may have 1099s and some people may have W-2 employees. Some people may have both. Some people may want to pay their employees cash. Some people may want to write a check. Some people may want direct deposit. There's so many different levels to payroll and what can be done. You could even, I see a question there from Celia Moore about annual payrolls. You could pay yourself. I was talking earlier in the conversation where you could pay yourself once a year. If you speak with your accountant and they're letting you know you need to pay this amount of taxes to yourself, or you want to pay yourself a salary, you could pay yourself annually. You could pay yourself quarterly. If you wanted to pay yourself once per quarter, or you wanted to pay your employees once per quarter, sometimes it's the decision that an employee may make. If you're a nonprofit, or if you're working with 1099s, or if you're working with other nonprofits, they may want to decide, hey, are you able to pay me as 1099? Are you able to pay me this way? And the beauty about it is you really are. It just, there's limitless options is what I'm saying.
And that's good to know. That's good to know,
Yes.
because another thing we'll talk about is when you set up payroll. This is important because I didn't know this, y'all. So setting up payroll doesn't mean you have to run your first payroll because it's structurally set up. So take one step at a time. So you can set up your payroll, get it all structured to where it's ready to be run, but it doesn't mean you have to ever run a payroll.
Yeah.
You may decide, you know what, I had this set up, but I didn't run a payroll this year. I'm going to run my first payroll in January. You at least have that one step set up.
Yes.
And that's definitely a great thing, because you're just taking those one step at a time. You may be still structuring. Another thing I didn't know is that in payroll, you can, and this might be a silly thing, but you can tie Cash App to payroll. That Cash App, a lot of people use Cash App now, and I know you were telling me that you can tie and they can direct deposit into their Cash App as well, in payroll as well. So like you said, there's so many different things that you can do. You don't have to think about my traditional job and how they do it and how they've done it and how I'm going to. You can kind of ease your way into it. We personally only have a handful, like 3 or 4 full-time employees or full-time contractors, and then the rest is part-time. I love part-time. I love working with moms and working with people who have businesses as well, and doing other things as well, because it allows them to be able to do something. I like to try and have even my part-time contractors be in a position where they can make whatever they want to make with the company. So now you're helping moms and you're helping people who have their own business to be able to have something on the side as well. So I love part-time as well, guys. That's always an option. Velma, hello, Velma. So good to see you.
Hi, Velma. I was also going to say, tying to your point, Tracy, that I have a client that set up payroll and like you said, did not know when they would be able to pay anyone, or did not know what they would be able to pay. And they didn't run payroll for several months. until it was the time. But once they were ready and once they were able to pay, now they have everything set into place. So all they have to do once they did hire on that employee, all they had to do was go in and get that employee paid. So it makes the process so much easier when you know that it's time, when you know the time is, it's time for you to set up payroll. Most definitely, I would say get the process started. You don't have to run a payroll right away. There's no ridiculous out of pocket cost. Honestly, there's no cost until you do process your first payroll. So you're not paying a ridiculous cost just to get the ball rolling, but it's better to be overly prepared and not need it right away, or may not need it and then not be prepared at all. And then now year end is approaching and you're, skin all over nervous, trying to figure out, what to do or how to get paid or who to set up. And then, you may have to make a decision that may not be best for your company.
Exactly. And this year end is a good time to start thinking about those things. Start thinking about what your, what you wanted to bring in again. The fact that I learned that from you, that someone can, they didn't pay that. They paid themselves once annually. Hey, I paid myself this amount. And then now as you're going into January taxes, sometimes those amounts matter for different things you're applying for and things like that. So start thinking about that, because I say this all to say there's a lot of entrepreneurs such as myself that go a long time without putting themselves on payroll or paying it all, because they just put everything back into the business and back into the business and growing it, especially if they started it and they had something else going on where they're like, you know what, I don't need to do payroll. I need to just grow this business. And there's people who do that for a long time, but realize that still at the end of the year, you can determine, you know what, I've done this for this long, but I want to go ahead and go in and put myself as receiving and put myself as an annual pay so that I can be able to do these things next year. So that's something you may definitely have to think about.
Thank you, Jayla. Yourself or your family, even your family sometimes, a lot of times I know some people's family work for free, but you know what I'm saying? Adding your family to payroll is definitely a option as well. Your children, high school children, you know what I'm saying? You could even do something along that line. Like I was saying, just depending on your business, everyone is different. So one person's, option may not be the same option for another person.
Absolutely. And yes, Gayla said, yes, you will attract the right team. You attract the right team when you become that person and when you're okay with leadership. If you ever have the opportunity to be around someone who's on a level up of leadership than you are, which we get to meet. The great thing about working in nonprofits is we're always linked with people who are doing things for the community. So it's this big old bunch of eclectic, wonderful, spiritual, kind
nonprofits. Yes. And then you find out so many different things that you never knew, or so many different organizations exist. And it's beautiful. I love working in nonprofits. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just a different story or a different testimony you interact with or may experience every day. So yes.
Absolutely. And entrepreneurs also, even as entrepreneurs, even as a nonprofit, they're going after their dreams. So this is a big time because they're going after something that they once saw as an idea, which, by the way, guys, little side nugget, everything that you see, look around the room, the camera that we're talking on, social media, the pictures behind you that I absolutely love. Everything was once an idea. So it's so important that you hone in on the power of an idea. Just because something haven't manifested yet, or you don't know how it's going to happen, or you don't know how you're going to attract a team, or you don't know how you're going to be able to put the money into payroll to pay the payroll. That's not having that idea in itself. Just in that is powerful in itself.
And being consistent, tapping into yourself and being consistent. If you know that idea, if you know you have an idea and you know it's a good idea, be consistent with it. Even if you're rooting for yourself, even if you're the only one rooting. Keep root.
Girl, you got this. I don't know how
consistency is so important.
Today, on like my fifth call, I'll be like, "You got this. You got this."
You do. Sometimes you have to cheer yourself on.
Absolutely.
You got to cheer yourself on, most definitely.
And cheering yourself, remember, guys, anything that you're saying to yourself, you're also saying to your team, because hopefully you are implementing the same developmental things into your team that you do for yourself. And so as they see you, like, you got this encouraging, dang, she working hard. If she got to be like, you got this, Tracy, let me make sure I'm showing up like that too. That's how you attract the right team. We got some more questions in here before we dig into the rest. Velma?
She needs help with the PPP.
With the PPP. So if you did, Velma, it depends on where you're at with the PPP. Do you need help applying for the PPP, or are you wanting to get your PPP forgiven so that you make sure that you got your payroll set up so that your PPP is forgiven? If that's the case, you want to reach out to Kandis, and her information will be in here definitely as well. Good morning, Wayne and Andrea Dawkins from Ja Rise. Another beautiful set. You talked to Andrea. Do you remember?
Yes,
From Ja Rise?
yes.
Yes.
How are you?
A beautiful, beautiful nonprofit doing a lot of great things for the community as well. Tamara said, love this discussion. I'm grateful to be here.
You were happy you're
Here's
here,
a question for us. How do you do payroll if you are a nonprofit when you don't know your monthly income? That is a very good question. I think we talked about that a little bit, but I'll hone in just a little bit more on it. As the first thing that you want to do, I'm a personal believer in attempting to have 5 streams of income. My goal for every family, my goal for every nonprofit, my goal for every entrepreneur is to have 5 streams of income. So as a nonprofit, you have grant funding, you have services and products that you provide, you have business sponsorships, you have personal donations, you have board member donations. So they're all different types of ways that you can bring in funding. So first, tap into those areas of funding, market yourself as a nonprofit, doing those activities and helping in the way that you've been called to help in, so that you can tap into the income streams that you'll have. As those start to come in, then you start to say, okay, I'm bringing it. One thing that Coach Austin says, I'm going to use this, I'm going to borrow it from you, Coach Austin, is the finances are just numbers. Those are just numbers. So if you're like, let's say for an example, you're wanting to build your team and you're like, you know what, I really need an assistant. That was my first thing I knew I needed. I was like, I need a personal assistant. I really do, because I'm a firm believer in outsourcing and delegating anything that can be. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know how that would look. I was like, is that going to look like one person, or is it several people for several different things? Well, as I started to play with it, as I started to meet with people, as I started to see how other teams operate around me as well, as I started to try people on, some virtually, some physically, I realized that it was more a team effort for me. And I have different people that do different things that they're gifted in, that all kind of come, and we all come together and we're able to get all of those different things done. So I would just say, hone in more on what type of income you're going to be bringing in as a nonprofit. And as that starts to come in, if it's $100, it doesn't matter if it's $100 or $10,000 or $100,000 that you're bringing in a month, they're still the same. It's a number. Okay, I'm bringing in $100 and I want to pay my payroll 50%. Well, those are numbers.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Whatever.
And I'll add on to that question as well. Another great place to start, and a lot of accountants offer free information. You could go speak with an accountant, and they'll be able to look at your information and your finances. If you want something specific, you know, if you want a specific dollar amount to be sure, if you don't know, you could get free information from an accountant, and they'll be able to tell you specifically what you should be paying yourself. Can you afford to pay anyone else? How much you could afford to pay yourself? They'll be able to break those figures down for you precisely in regards to even the tax amount to the T on how much you should be paying. So if you're 100% unsure if the money is there, if the income is there, if you know you're ready to start, but you just don't know where that dollar amount may look, I would suggest speaking with an accountant, because they'll be able to hone in and tell you specifically what you should be paying, what you should be bringing in. They'll be able to look at your numbers and see what you're putting out and what you're getting in, and they'll be able to at least give you an idea. You don't necessarily have to set up, and with an accountant, you don't necessarily have to, sign a long-time agreement or a long, term agreement, but it's always good to get that information, because at least that will give you an idea of where do you start, what that dollar amount looks like for you.
That's a good point, and that's a good point about accountants, because for some reason, for a long time in my head, I always thought, I don't know why, but if you have an accountant, this is an accountant that only works for you. Everyone is freelancers now. Everyone has different packages. So almost everyone has a service package, a smaller service package, and on up, depending on what you're working with. If you're working with little to nothing, you can always go on, use your little phone or whatever you're looking at right now, and go on to YouTube, go on to Google, look up ways to for accounting.
And QuickBooks has an accounting software, as well as QuickBooks also has like an accounting program where they have accountants on board who give you advice on and things of that nature as well. So that's a that's a good option. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they had actual accountants on staff that give you advice as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Yes, QuickBooks, guys. QuickBooks also has a nonprofit discount. If you are a nonprofit, always look for things that have a nonprofit discount. But know that you can operate in your budget, whatever that is. If it's
most nonprofits are exempt from a lot of taxes as well. So you may so there's lots of different tax breaks as well for nonprofits when it comes to payroll and how that looks. And most nonprofits are tax exempt from your federal, and state, or federal and unemployment, just depending on your nonprofit and what it is that you do specifically. So
another key nugget. Another key nugget right there. Absolutely, because that was a surprise for me. I was like, we were exempt with a lot of stuff, but when I set up payroll, I didn't know exactly how that worked because that's not my area of expertise, which that's another thing. Stay in your lane. Whatever your area of expertise is, it's okay for you to have that area and put people around you who have other areas of expertise. And that's how you make those super teams right there.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I didn't even know that, there's a lot of benefits of being a nonprofit starting a payroll as opposed to a business. Let's see here. Is it easier to handle payroll in corporations? We just answered that. That's funny. We were right on time, right in synchronicity a little bit. She said, is it easier to handle payroll in corporations or nonprofits when you first start? And nonprofits, definitely.
Yeah, I would say it really depends on the person. I would say neither is too challenging. Just really depends on where you need the service. Where are your employees? Are you hiring in your nonprofit? Where are you? Where do you spend most of your time? Is that your primary?
Coming in more.
Can do both, But to start, you have to see, look at where you spend your most time. Where are the wages coming from, or where are the finances coming from? So that's where I would decide whether to do nonprofit or corporation. But either I would say it's not too challenging. Not at all.
Either way, it's not too challenging. A little bit benefits for nonprofits, but again,
more benefits. Yeah, more tax breaks for nonprofits. So most definitely, yeah.
But it depends on your personal situation.
It depends on your situation.
Your personal situation. And yes, Andrea said, this is great. We'll touch bases with Kandis to set up. Hi, Kandis. Hey. As well from John Rice. Yes, they are definitely full of love and light. Thank you, Minnow, Mom. Decide, delegate. Oh, decide. I didn't never see that. Decide.
Break it to smaller. Break it to smaller pieces.
Then break it to smaller pieces. So it's several. Okay, so we got decide, delete, delegate, delay, diminish, break into smaller pieces. That's awesome. Absolutely. And that's why you get people on your team. Sometimes it's not about one thing that I'll say is I'm the type that, like, not to sound any kind of way, but anything almost non-physical, let's say that, anything non-physical, whether it be fixing the dishwasher, putting in a pipe, doing something business, whatever it is, if I really take the time to dive into how to get it done, I can get it done. That does not mean that you should.
It's not.
That doesn't mean that you should. Because if you love to research and love to do it yourself, you only have a certain amount of time. You will never be able to elevate to the level that you can elevate doing everything yourself, even if you can do it. Because even if you can do it, you may or may not be doing it at an expert level. Yep. Now you're going to hit some problems. We know about the plumbing problems, don't we, sis?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been there, done that, creating an ongoing list that never gets done, most definitely. Yeah, it's so good that to focus. Me personally, I like to focus maybe on, I have a list, an ongoing list, but if I knock off one thing on that list, and like I said, with self-care and keep pumping it to myself, then, I've accomplished something for that day. Because you also have to think about the time that you have to be present for your family, or if you have outside of, your passion or your craft, you have to be available and present for them as well. So
absolutely. Yeah. So really take on, what can I get done this is one thing that I love, mantras and things like that. So I have different mantras depending on what's going on different times in my life. And one mantra that I said for a very long time was, I'm in the right place at the right time. Even my delays are divine. And what that meant was, and another thing that I would say is, my schedule is a suggestion, but my peace is priority. So at any point in time, it's good. I like to say it like, if you go to church, you see a pastor, they're coming up there with notes. They're going to have a plan. They're going to be prepared. I love planning. That's my favorite thing to do.
Yes.
We going to come up with a plan. Well, what's the plan? And so I can do a plan, but you have to make sure that you make room in that plan for God. You make room for anything to happen. You make room for, things to adjust, because sometimes things don't go necessarily according as planned. But when you have that plan and that structure together first, then you can kind of move from there. And the first thing you want to plan is the time that's a requirement for you, whatever are priorities for you that keeps you filled up. So when you talked about family, that goes on the plan. That's not separate from business. Like, oh no, I got to get all these things done. No,
exactly. They all coincide with one another, and especially when you're living in your purpose. And your plan, everything coincides with one another.
Self-care.
Yes, self-care. Oh, and that's so important daily. Self-care daily. Pumping into yourself, you know what I'm saying? Daily is so important. It's so important to feel good about yourself. So important.
One of the reminders that I do is with my devices. Anytime a device of mine that I'm utilizing starts to die, I'm like, you know what?
It's time to go.
I need to recharge too, because even your devices, we treat our cars and we recharge them, but we don't recharge ourselves. So that's so important in team management and in mindset. Let's see, we have a comment here.
With loans like SBA loans and things like that. So we'll benefit to have your payroll done, because next year is going to be a new round of different SBA
to already have these things in place. And that's what my sister was saying as well over here, Gayla, is that
you're building that payroll history. Just anytime you do a payroll, you're building that payroll history. So that's when you're doing those SBA loans and all those loans, and they're looking at that history and asking you about how many employees that you have and things of that nature. That's when you can go back and say, hey, I've been running payroll. I have this many employees.
Absolutely.
And then, like I was saying, consider yourself. Consider your family members. There are several tax breaks for adding your family members. Why not? You know what I'm saying? If they're helping you and they're benefiting, from your business or vice versa, why not add them to payroll? You know what I'm saying? Those are employees as well. So you're building that history, most definitely.
And that's a good point. I want to make sure we hone in on that nugget right there, because, for a long time, a lot of people sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're looking for ways to balance family and business. They said they work-life balance. Well, something blew my mind. I want to say it was not even 6 months ago. I was in this virtual conference on work-life balance. And they were saying, throw away work-life balance. If you can talk to your kids and watch a movie with your kids, you can have your kids look at what some of the business stuff that you're doing. You can ask them about what
every day is a chance for them to learn. Especially if they're like your children are most importantly, because they're experiencing, they're right beside you. They're right in front of you. So why not bless them with that knowledge? Why wait till they're 18? Why wait till they're 30? Why wait till they have to get the knowledge on their own? Anytime that I get more information, I give it to Brooke. She's 7. My oldest daughter is 7. Anytime I gain more information or any questions she may have, I try to be honest and give her, the right answers, because who says she's too young to learn business management? Who says that? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell you, Jordan, who's 5, that's our littlest one, he gives advice. He likes to give, he really likes to, and that's so important that at a young age, you start to see the gifts in your children, the gifts because their gifts will make way for them. So their gifts are the things that they'll be able to create businesses and help. Basically, a business is problem solution. A business is I'm solving this problem. A business is I'm elevating this group of people. I'm helping this group of people. Ultimately, when I connect to your nonprofit or to you as an entrepreneur, my goal is after we connect for you to be leveled up to a couple of levels more up, for me to bring you up in the shortest way possible to the level that I'm on in business. So it's important for us to look at our kids and see the different
Yes.
things that they have. Jordan loves to give advice. If there's a problem about anything, he'll come up with some solutions. There was
At 5 years old.
yeah, 5 years old.
That's awesome.
My oldest was.
And then kids are so genuine and honest. It's such a beautiful thing. Their love is so genuine and it's so honest and it's just so it's
authentic.
it's constant. They're gonna love you regardless. Whether you mess up or whether you do something wrong or make a mistake. That love is just like I said, it's so genuine. It's just gonna always be there, and it's just it's
a total different lens.
It is.
Absolutely. And it's just them seeing, and the more that they see, the more that they emulate. Off topic, but that's just such a true.
And it's never too late. It's never too late to start. As they get older, you can delegate actually specifics. What they should be doing in the business, but it's never too late. It's never too early. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's never too early to start. When it comes to your children and teaching them, your business and blessing them, with little nuggets where they can be successful in life and may not have to, do the traditional job 9 to 5, you know what I'm saying? And they're more in control of their destiny and what they actually can contribute and give in life. So
absolutely. And as nonprofits, you're helping people.
Yes.
Entrepreneurs. I work with a lot of nonprofits and authentic entrepreneurs and coaches. So basically they're helping people to transition from one place to another. So you want to teach your children about helping and how do I help and how does this work? Well, I'm, doing this for this client right now because we're helping grow their business because this is the job that I've been called to do. And this is how this works. Them learning that at a young age is amazing.
Yes.
It's totally different than learning, not to say anything is wrong with working a 9 to 5. Sometimes that's someone's calling is just to support another business, and that's okay too. For a long time, I thought everybody was supposed to be entrepreneur. That's not necessarily the case. But if you have a vision, if you've been called to be an entrepreneur and to build your own, you surely can do it, no matter what type of background you come from.
I agree because to give you an example of that, I had been in customer service for a while. I'm like, customer service, how is this, when I did start thinking about, because when I was, maybe in my 20s, start thinking about what it actually was, what it looked like for me to actually help and live in my calling. I'm like, customer service, but you have to really think about a good experience with customer service and a bad experience and how important that is when it falls in line with helping people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Customer service makes a huge difference in whether I'm going to go to a restaurant again or whether I'll service that business again. Can I talk to that person? Can I be real with that person? Can I get the level of customer service that I need? You know what I'm saying? For whatever I'm doing, whether it's eating or buying a product or whatever the case, that's so important.
That is.
It's very important, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to helping people. So you may start off one way and say, how is this, how is this benefiting me? Or you may ask God, like, how is benefiting you? But I think everything happens for a reason and everything is preparing you for what you're destined to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100%. And thinking of any place that you're tied into, whatever, if you're in a season right now where you're supporting another company or another business, just pulling everything you can from there.
Yeah.
If it's your goal and your vision to be a boss and to be running the business and be an entrepreneur, pull everything, because right now they have their payroll going. They're doing some of the things that you're doing. So make sure you're using that as an opportunity to really educate yourself and be of most impact while you're there. Tamara said, are there any pointers for starting payroll with one employee by yourself? And when your business grows, can you hire someone to organize your payroll?
That's the beautiful thing about it. That is a wonderful question, Tamara. I love that. You can start payroll with just one employee. You can start payroll with 0 employees and it's just you. And then All Pay Services, which is my business, we organize your payroll and and I was going to leave you with a few talking points, because what All Pay Services does is we will set up your payroll. So however that looks for you, we let you decide how you like to process, whether you want to process online, whether you want to process payroll on your own, whether you want to call in and have me process, whether we can communicate through email or fax or whatever is convenient for you. And then that's when your payroll is processed. So All Pay Services takes care of handling all of your payroll needs. We send all of your taxes to the proper payroll agencies. We file all of your annual and quarterly returns. So we take care of all that work for you. The only thing you'll really have to do at the end of the year is file those taxes. We handle all of your quarterly and annual returns. We handle all of your state and federal tax payments. We send them off for you. We get your employees paid, whether it be direct deposit, whether they want a check, whether you want to pay them cash, 1099. We do all of that. We take care of all of that for you, so you don't have to worry about it. You know, so we take some of that stress of starting payroll or processing payroll away from you, so you don't have to worry about it. And then I'm a teacher, so anything a client wants to know, we may start off where you may want to email me your payroll, but then you may say, I think I could do it on my own. So we could set up a one-on-one where I could show you, break down step by step how you can process payroll on your own. It really depends on you and your timing and what you're comfortable with. And that, like I said, that can always be adjusted. So you could start off one way with 1 employee, and then further down the line, you can have 10 employees, and you may want to say, I'm going to start paying them on my own, or I may have a off frequency payroll. So I want to have the access to pay them when I want to. I may think about something like, it's 12 o'clock at night, but I'm like, oh man, I forgot to pay payroll. I forgot to pay my payroll. So now I can go in and just, tap a few buttons, and then my payroll is off. You know what I'm saying? 5 o'clock in the morning, it gives you the freedom to process payroll how you would like, when it's convenient for you and your timing on your comfort level.
Absolutely. And some people like to know. Some people like both. They like to know what's going on, and then also have that be able to do it if they have to. And
and so I work with a business on any level so any level you're at. All Pay Services can help you, most definitely.
We have half off for all Clark and Clark guys. Half off, as you saw right here. So just mention Clark and Clark, and that is 50% off of your setup fees.
Yes,
they're really low anyway.
And then I want to leave with one more talking point. I was going to say, a lot of the larger payroll companies, corporations, they are going to charge you a monthly fee. Even if you're not running payroll, you're going to get charged that fee. Once you get set up with payroll, there's going to be a $50 to $100 fee, whether you run that payroll or whether you don't. So if you decide to set up with a company, and then you say, I don't have payroll for 2 months, you're going to start getting charged a monthly fee regardless whether you run payroll or not. All Pay Services is different. We're not doing that. If you don't have a payroll, if you can't pay your employees, if you have $100 to pay your employee 1 week, then we're just charging for the payrolls that you run. We're not charging a servicing fee for you being on board with our team, because that's just not what I'm looking to do. So that we're looking to help people, and not nickel and dime them for nothing. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you for being different and showing.
No problem. Thank you for letting me use your platform to share my information.
No problem. Thank you for being a part of our team on payroll. Yes, Gayla said, show up for ourselves. That's the other sister, guys. So we got all sister magic right here.
Yes. Yes. And like you said, all of my information is in the description box. I love answering questions. I'm happy to answer any questions. Even if you're not ready to do payroll, then still send me questions. I love helping and answering any questions. And then if you don't have the proper documentation to set up payroll, we also help with that. So if you're just getting started, you have nothing, it's just yourself, come on over. I still can help you. We can help getting you there. We can help you get started. We can help you get started with your business or wherever you're looking to go.
Give you a guide. If you're trying to get there, we can even give you a guide.
Yeah.
Lynette said, Tracy, what were the 5 streams of income I mentioned? For nonprofits, I mentioned that, and it can be a multitude. It can be a mixture, but some of the most common are services and products, grants, donations, business sponsorships, board member donations. That can be a separate stream of income than regular donations, because of course you want your board to be passionate about the project, and when we're passionate about something, we give to it. So those are just some examples of income streams. But subscriptions, that's another thing. A lot of programs base their nonprofits off of subscriptions. For an example, there's an organization we've worked with. They build water wells in different areas that can't build water wells, and they do subscription based. And then as they go to these other countries and they're building these water wells, they do video, and they let people see what's going on, their subscribers, and how they're providing water for people who don't have water. And so and they are able to decide the amount that they are bringing in. So I could do I think we have one video on there, but I could definitely do another video on income streams for nonprofits or for entrepreneurs as well. But that's just a quick briefing of those as well. I think that was the last thing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Velma. No problem. Remember, guys,
thanks for watching.
Oh, I think we did miss one last question. One last question from Minnow. She said, do nonprofit employees pay taxes? Well,
it depends on the nonprofit. It depends on what you do, and it depends on how you set the employee up. So it really would depend on the business. A lot of churches are exempt from all taxes. But most nonprofits, I would say, at least pay Social Security and Medicare. So at least they pay. Most nonprofits, if you're paying a W-2 employee, it would at least be Social Security and Medicare. There may be other tax exemptions, but I would say the minimum is you're going to pay Social Security and Medicare.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. Because one thing that I like, one way that it was described to me is the funds you're bringing in as a nonprofit organization is tax exempt, but as they're going out individually, those individuals are bringing in profit, so to speak. They're bringing in funds, so they may have to pay taxes on what they're bringing in, because that's not, but the nonprofit bringing in as a nonprofit, they don't pay taxes on it as it's coming in.
Exactly. That's a good,
Dominique said, great job. Hey, sis.
Hey, BFF. Shout out to Damo.
All right, guys. It was wonderful talking to you. Sorry we went over a little bit. As always, we're working on that. I will see you guys next week at 11 a.m. EST for this live as well. Remember, all of Kandis's information is going to be up under here in the comments, and you can schedule a call with her and get any questions answered that you might have as well. Next week, we'll also be doing a hot seat. So if you have a nonprofit that you would like me to look into really well, make sure you shoot me an email or a comment here, and I'll get you on that list to be on a hot seat, which basically means I look at your nonprofit and tell you what I would do with this nonprofit to bring in income or to develop it to the next stage, guys. So we're going to be doing that next week. And then the following Saturday, we'll be right back here live. Guys, remember from then until now to take some time for self-care, to create those win-wins, and to make sure you're having a peaceful and productive day. Make sure you're taking some time to put into your business, but also taking that time to put into yourself so you have something to give, okay?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much,
everybody. Thanks for watching.
Yes, and we will see you guys in the next live.
Yes.